This is the OMFL.
You can't touch this.
And you're in the mix with Kinda Real Name. Here's another OMFL production.
When I hit you up, I'm talking about banging something. Chill off in your crib with half a thing, probably make the sting or something. Girl, you like my bottom, post my bill, pay for my lawyer. Play your position when the mother hoes get out of order. When you wanna give me that, you purchase a plane ticket, run around town when I was.
I got to turn it on. See, if you turn it on, now it's going to work. So let me try that again. Welcome to the Saints and Sinners podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. It was time to do a little update. It's been a couple of weeks, and I can't get my hat on straight. What's my problem here this morning? Jeez, it's all twisted and turned. It's a rough morning, even at 8:57 in the morning here on Saturday. But I'm ready for the LSU Tigers Texas game a little later this afternoon. But you guys didn't come here to hear me talk about LSU Tigers and the Texas team that's what we're going to have today. But came here to talk about the Saints. I'm rambling. I'm all discombobulated because look at this schedule. It's absolutely been terrible. I have not played well at all. I think the last time that I did one of these, we talked about games 1 and 2 against the Texans and Rams. It didn't get any better as we moved into week 3, and then there was a glimmer of hope, which was quickly snatched away by Cooley and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's look at week 3. This was actually going to be a CPU game. Unfortunately, Mo was away and couldn't play, and we are in the midst of trying to figure out sliders, in the midst of trying to figure out settings and exactly who's going to be where and like what should be what and updates and like all the stuff that kind of changed everything. And well, to be honest, this was a tough one. I played the CPU and it was actually a fun game, but as you know, if you play the CPU, they just kind of run the same plays over and over, and I kind of battled back as much as I could, but at the end of the day, we kind of ran out of steam. I'm not going to talk about this game a whole ton because it was a CPU game, but you can see Drew Brees with a 41.3 rating with 2 interceptions. This started to kind of start the downfall of Drew Brees, who played really, really well the first 2 weeks. It was the rest of the team that let him down, but now this is where we start to see cracks in the armor. This is also the game where Kamara gets hurt, and he's going to be out most of the season. It was really, really rough to lose him. He's been the catalyst of what we're building this team around on offense. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He's an X factor. He's got enough speed to break away. He can run up the gut. I mean, he is the all-around back for us. And 7 carries into this game, he goes down with an injury that's going to keep him out most of the season. And so we've got to come up with another plan and start to figure this out. So back and forth. This was a tough game, but it was a CPU game, and so couldn't really tell a whole lot about it. Then we play Mr. Maniac, who will be on Press Pass Live tomorrow. So Press Pass Live is going to come out tomorrow at 8 a.m. We have figured out the chat. I'm kind of going flip-flopping a little back and forth between Twitch and YouTube. I think what it's going to be is when I'm not live streaming with all the pretty stuff that you see, will be on Twitch, because I can go at a higher rate there. And when we're live streaming, we're going to go back to YouTube, just because it seems that we get more viewers on YouTube, because I guess you guys have the app on your phone more than people have the Twitch app on their phone. And so we're going to try to keep on YouTube whenever we've got Press Pass Live and all these other things, and we're going to go ahead and stay on Twitch whenever we're not doing it like this and we're just regular streaming. But this was the game against Maniac where I began to figure some things out, and I felt like my team was really rolling. It's the first game after Kamara goes down an injury. We brought in Scott, who we love in real life, and so we got him back from the Eagles. We pick up Procise out of free agency, and of course we have our other back that plays on this team whose name is Murray. There's the name I'm looking for, Murray. And all 3 of those running backs played really good. The offensive line was really dominant. The defensive line was dominant. And Drew Brees was on fire. You can see a 153.8, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was 84%, 16 for 19 on the day. In the rushing department, again, Zeke Elliott got his 17 for 75, a 4.4 average. But you see Murray, 13 for 67, he averaged 5.2. Scott, 6 for 61, 10.2. And then ProSize 3 for 24, he averaged 8 yards a carry. So I was excited about my team. I was like, all right, this offensive line, I've been really pumping into them. They're already pretty decent, but I'm excited. This should be what I need. And again, it fell off again this week whenever we played the Tampa Bay Bucks. Jason Witten was the receiver, leading receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, 4 for 87. He was unstoppable. He caught a pass in the back of the end zone. That was a high-pointed pass. I was like, there's no way he'll get there. I actually stopped covering him because he was so far in the back of the end zone and the pass was so high, and somehow he came down with it. So he got a big touchdown there. Ted Ginn was my guy, 6 for 86. He actually approached me before the game. He asked to be more involved in the game plan, and so we tried to get him more involved. Jared Cook had 4 for 66. Smith 2 for 38. Here's the big surprise for this game is Mike Thomas only 1 for 19. He really wasn't involved in the game plan that much. It was pretty shut down there by the Dallas Cowboys. Collins gave up 3 sacks. Ramczyk gave up two of the best offensive line in the entire NFL, and yet you can see they both struggled here and did not play well. Connor Williams gave up 1. McCoy gave up 1. On defense, it was all about Payne. I picked him up in my free agent draft. Actually, my buddy Dwayne helped me find him because I was on the road. This guy had an amazing game. I was not able to follow up this performance in week number 5, but he had 9 tackles, 1 for loss. No sacks on the day, but he was really dominant in shutting down that run game and being a force right there in the middle. Interceptions, there were none on this day. And then sacks, you're going to see DeMarcus Lawrence, a monster off the left end, but so is Cam Jordan with 2 on his own. Malik Collins, 1.5 sacks. Klein had a sack. Anyamata had a sack, and Vander Esch threw in half a sack. So it was a good game back and forth. I think that Maniac was pretty frustrated that he couldn't get his run game going, but he averaged 4.4 yards a carry. Overall, the Saints pretty much controlled this in the entire second half. But then we went and invited the Bucks into town, and Cooley came in and guns a-blazing. He kind of had his complete way with me, dominated me from start to finish. There was no opportunity to even compete in this game. First play of the game, I knew that he played safety. I did my homework on him. I sucked him up with a play action. You can go back and watch this play. It's early in the game. His first play on offense after the kickoff. Cooley takes 5 yards in. I mean, real life NBA, in NFL, not NBA, in real life NFL, there's no way a guy is turning around and flipping his hips and getting back. But I tossed the pass up. Mike Thomas has got the beat on the cornerback. I've sucked Cooley in with the play action. Somehow Cooley makes it back, gets the interception on the first play of the game, and then it's on from there. And I'm not able to keep up at all because the Tampa Bay Bucks just kind of run away from it. You can see that he completely outrushed me, 33 yards to 104. There were no rushing yard lanes at all this game. As if the Dallas Cowboys was the perfect game where there were massive holes, I was able to just kind of control the clock and control what I was doing. The Tampa Bay Bucks game was completely the opposite. Was not able to get anything going at all. 3 turnovers as Drew Brees just took some chances, and it didn't pay off at all. I was able to keep myself in the game late, but kept turning the ball over. And you can't turn the ball over against a guy like Cooley because he's going to make you pay for it each and every time. Jameis Winston played lights out, 154.8, 258 yards with 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was 73% completion percentage. He was just outstanding. He controlled the game, controlled the flow, just controlled everything about what the Tampa Bay Bucks were trying to do. Ronald Barber and Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones, 9 for 74 and 9 for 30. Again, not sexy numbers, not big numbers that you would think that you would see from a game like this from Tampa Bay, but still enough of the rushing game that helped them control the clock. And they had such big plays, they really didn't need a ton of, great rushing attack there because their quarterback was efficient, their play calling was efficient, their defense was grabbing turnovers. it was just a perfect game plan for him. Murray struggled 14 for 25, Prosise 1 for 6, and then Boston Scott, after averaging 10 yards a carry, comes back in for 8 for 2. It was a really tough day, and one of those games where you're like, why do I even play this game? I can't even compete. It was really, really tough. Rashad Perriman, he burnt me really late in this game. He did a post, one-on-one coverage, and just made a great play. It seemed like all of the big plays, the 50-50 balls, seemed to go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' way, and we just didn't have an answer for any of those things. Mike Thomas, 7 for 95, no touchdowns on the day. Ted Ginn, 6 for 78. I was able to get those guys going late, but we were playing catch-up the entire time. You can see anytime you're playing catch-up, you're going to pass the ball a lot, which means you're going to put your quarterback in peril for interceptions and also for just giving up a lot of sacks. They gave up 3 sacks, and I gave up 2, including my import, who is a stud, but he got really dominated in this game, both in the run game and in the pass protection game. Jared Copeland was amazing for him. 9 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He kind of was all over the field, making big plays for him. And then Hartgraves throws in another 8 tackles and the 1 interception. I just really struggled having any answers for his defense. His defense really set him up for what his offense was able to be super efficient. I just never got in the flow. And if you can't get in the flow, it's hard to play call right. It's hard to make plays, call off of one another. And you just find yourself, at least I do, grasping at straws and trying to figure out exactly how to make your team tick and how to get them flowing. Cam Jordan with 2 sacks, Williams with a sack, Rankins with a sack, Payne with a sack. So my defense did their part, at least at getting after the quarterback. But overall, it was just really a struggle. And we dropped a big game, 34-13, our first divisional game. And now we're behind the 8 ball. We're 1-4. 1-0-1 in the division, which is a pretty big hole in a division that's still trying to figure itself out. We do feel like after this game, though, that we were able to find what we think is pretty close settings. Maybe not perfect, because you just never quite know. We need to get the feedback from this entire week and maybe the next entire week, but it's going to be tough. I mean, we're on the road against the Jaguars, on the road against the Bears, and then we got to go face Kyler Murray back at home before our bye week. And then after the bye week, it just gets stupid. You got the Falcons, Bucks, Panthers, Falcons, 49ers, Colts, Titans, Panthers. It's going to be a long year. Can't even tank for a high draft pick because I don't even have any of my draft picks. Gave up my first rounder for Valdez-Scantling from the Green Bay Packers. My second round was already gone in real-life trades to the Green Bay Packers. And I think I gave up my third and fourth round for some different deals that I had worked out. So it's been a tough year. We'll look at some stats overall. I think that the stats aren't going to be terrible, but we've yet to figure out the flow. We've been yet to figure out our offensive identity, and that's really, really hurt us as we've struggled. 6 interceptions for Drew Brees this year. Started off red hot, and then it just got wonky. And 3 interceptions this week against the Bucks and 2 interceptions against the Seattle Seahawks. It's 5 of the 6 right there in 2 games, and you drop both of those games, one to the CPU and then a blowout to Cooley and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Rushing is going to be off because Kamara's been hurt, but even with Kamara being out, you can see my guys are averaging under 4 yards a carry. You got to get that fixed. We got to get that figured out. We've messed with the rush sliders. I felt like they were too high in my game against the Cowboys, to be totally honest, and then too low against my game against the Tampa Bay Bucks. We've kind of bounced it back. And I think we found a nice middle ground. But at the end of the day, it's going to come to me just focusing on my team, focusing on that rush game, and really trying to get them going. Mike Thomas and Ted Ginn are both sharing catches here. The guy that I really am interested in getting going, Traquan Smith has played amazing for me. He doesn't have the gaudy stats when you look at his attributes, but he just makes catches, big catches, runs great routes. This is the guy I'm really excited about getting going is Valdez-Scantling. He's big, he's tall, he's fast, and even Grayson. He's not tall, but he's super fast. He's a burner. These 3 guys, I think, are going to lead my team with Thomas, but I can't sit Ginn and I can't sit Cooks. I mean, both of these guys are playmakers. They still have playmaking ability. They're just up there in age, and so I feel I'm pretty loaded at receiver, and we're set up for a good long run after Drew Brees. We just got to figure out who our quarterback's going to be. You can see, though, this offensive line has struggled. Andrews Pete has given up 5 sacks in 5 games. Dercher, 3 sacks in 5 games. Ramczyk, 3 sacks in 5 games. My center here, my rookie center, Eric McCoy, he's actually played not too bad. Only 2 sacks in 5 games. And then Armstead, 2 sacks in 5 games. I'm really pumping into them. They're getting all of my extra XP, all the extra focused training. I'm really trying to build this offensive line up because I understand that if you're going to win in this league, you're going to need to control the line of scrimmage. You're going to need to control how you're run blocking, how you're pass blocking, and the lanes that you can get opened up. Anzalone's been quiet for the past 2 weeks, but overall having a pretty decent season. Both of my middle linebackers, this is what you want to see. Your 2 middle linebackers, excuse me, taking that lead, being that team leader that's going to step up, be leading your team in playmaking and tackles for loss. On the sacks, I got to get Cam Jordan some help. And you see Cam Jordan's already got 6, Rankins 3, Onyemata 3. We're playing that 3-4, and so we have a couple of defensive tackles that are playing these defensive lineman positions. But Onyemata's got to get off the schneid. Here's another guy that has to get going. He's going to get replaced, and that's Josh Martin. He's got 3 tackles for loss, which has been nice, but the 5 tackles is pretty low, and no sacks. He's playing that left outside linebacker position. He's playing it over Davenport right now. Davenport comes in when I play the 3-4, but it's a 3-4 predator. It's laid out like a 4-3, and Davenport comes in on 3rd downs for a rushing defensive end. So Davenport's getting playing time, but Josh Martin overall has that left outside linebacker and a 3-4 ability. He can cover, he can rush the edge, he's got decent speed, decent strength, but he's just not making enough plays. And so we're going to have to see more playmaking ability out of him. And then another guy that I think needs to step it up is Chauncey Gardner Johnson. He just hasn't made enough plays. He's got the 1 interception and the 23 tackles, but he just seems to be making those tackles as like the last man standing in the backfield. I need him to come up. I need him to make some more plays. And then Patrick Robinson and whoever is going to be my second cornerback. We've flip-flop back and forth. Patrick has got all of the playmaking abilities except for speed. He's got like 86 speed, and so what happens is even though he's got great coverage ability, he just gets burnt. And so I think we're going to go back to Eli Apple, and give Eli Apple another opportunity to be that starting cornerback opposite of Marshawn Lattimore, because he has the speed to keep up. His coverage abilities are not what you see with Robinson, but you got to have speed to keep up with the guys here in the OMFL, because they're going to have some speedsters in there. And so Robinson's going to be my guy that comes in on 3rd downs, bounces to the outside, leave a speed guy on the inside, and then 1st and 2nd down, we'll see if Apple can be the guy who steps up. Kick returns, Harris is my guy. He's averaging 26.4. Here's been the problem with Harris on kick returns especially, is that he's so fast that he runs past his 2 blockers that are lead blockers, and he gets tackled before the 25-yard line because he has no blockers in front of him. And so I'm trying to figure out how to properly use him, but both Harris and Grayson, who I've talked about earlier, are 2 like young speedsters that the Saints picked up. Harris in real life is the NCAA leader in kick and punt returns for touchdowns, and made the team because of an 86-yard punt return for a touchdown in real life. And Grayson is a track star turned receiver that played for Seattle, played at LSU, played for Seattle last year, and then got picked up by the Saints this year. Both have potential. Both are just pure line speedsters, and so we have to continue to find ways to get them involved, because they have playmaking ability. And if you're going to have playmaking ability, You got to figure out a way to get them in, whether it's reverses, bubble screens, get in for, a 4-receiver slant or go or something like that, right? And we'll continue to find ways for those guys. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about the rushing game and the defense, and both of those failed me against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll look at standings real quick before we wrap up the show. Come over here to the NFC South. Tampa Bay and the Falcons are battling it out here. Now, we're not out of it. We're 2 games back with a lot of football left to play, but at 1-4, it's not looking pretty. We've put up by far the least amount of points in the division, only 83 points. We've allowed the least at 118, which is, second to least. That's right, Tampa Bay's only allowed 107. So you feel good about the defense. You feel like your defense can compete in this division, but the offense is like playing a high school offense. We're not in the flow of things. When Kamara was with me, he ended up becoming a little bit of a burden because I couldn't figure out how to get him properly plugged in, and now that I don't have him, it's like I'm missing that weapon. And at the end of the day, it's about flow. When we put up 34 points against the Dallas Cowboys, we had over 150 yards rushing. We were able to control the game calling because all of my gameplay really plays off that rushing game. And if the rushing game is what I need it to be, and we're able to open up those holes, we're controlling the clock, we're not turning the ball over, we're not having to take chances, it sets up the play action, it sets up the comeback routes, the crossing routes. They all kind of play off of that running game. And I haven't had a running game in all 4 of the losses that we have had against the Rams, the Texans. There was just no good game where we had a good running game. So I think the defense is where we want to be. A few small things left to figure out there, but we also have to figure out this rushing attack, and we have to get it going. Kamara's gone. He's going to be gone at least until, I think, week 10 or 11. And so right now the focus really is on about, can Murray lead this team? Can Scott add in that speed back element? And what can Procise add as kind of an all-around back? Because got some big games coming up, especially against the Jaguars and Bears. We have an opportunity that if we can compete in those 2, go into that bye week, sitting at 3-4, almost 500, right? Have an opportunity as soon as we come back from bye week where you got Panthers, Falcons, Bucks, all kind of a little bit of a run there. You have an opportunity to make a run here and see what you can do. As far as like my money, I haven't really spent any money. There's only one guy that we're negotiating with right now, and that is Anyamata. Yeah, it's David Anyamata. We think we're close with him. And then the rest of these guys that we're just kind of waiting to decide. Drew Brees is going to be the big one. The 85 throwing power sucks, but being an X factor, I'd hate to see him walk if he still has another year left in him. Ted Ginn, we're probably going to let walk. We just have too many young receivers, and so probably not going to make him an extending offer. And depending on what happens with the rest of these guys will depend on what we do with Drew Brees. I am kind of hoping he retires, but I don't think that he will. Kayvon Webster has some playmaking ability. Maybe he's worth bringing back on a 1-year deal. But do I want to invest, $5 million into this guy? Eli Apple, we will give an extending offer to. He's only asking 24 over 5. If we could get him at, 26 over 4, maybe that makes that worth doing. He needs to step up his zone coverage. He's just not a good zone coverage. Now, we're a man team. That's what we're going to play a majority of, but he's going to have to fix his zone coverage. And then Von Bell, the guy that just opened up this week, definitely a guy that I want to bring back. Now, he's not making a lot of plays for me, but a 76 overall, 24-year-old safety with 88 speed who can tackle, who can play zone. You just can't let that guy walk over $14 million. It's just not a lot of money. I don't like the signing bonus, and so we're going to have to figure out the signing bonus situation because I don't want to give him $6 million in a signing bonus, even over the 4 years. It's just a pretty hefty number if an offer comes that we can't turn down. We've got a lot of guys that are going to be up, but some of these back-end guys we're just not going to re-sign. So this has been Saints and Sinners for weeks 3 through 5, and so this is podcast number 3. long uphill battle. This is not where we expected to be in week number 3. At the end of the day, we've made the playoffs every single year, and we're probably not going to make it this year. We've got a lot of things to figure out with this team. So thanks for tuning into the podcast. Press Pass Live is coming to you live tomorrow. I'm going to go get some more sleep so I'm not so droggy. Hopefully I'm living high off of an LSU win. We should have an advance here pretty soon. I'm ready to get back on the field and just get in the flow of things. I've already started to do my homework on the Bears and the Jacks. So, hey, I'm watching you guys. Till next time, we'll see you Press Pass Live on Sunday morning. Peace.